Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips joined by Gamecock great basketball player Joe Rhett, talking Gamecock men's basketball today, and really a huge week for South Carolina men's basketball under fifth-year head coach Frank Martin. Joe, good to have you again today. The Gamecocks win last week. A couple of nationally ranked teams South Carolina knocked off. First, they beat Michigan at home, and then they went on the road and beat Syracuse up in Brooklyn, New York. Technically a neutral court game at the Barclays Center, but a decidedly orange crowd up there in Brooklyn on Saturday. And, Joe, I got to believe the Syracuse win is the biggest win of the Frank Martin era at South Carolina. And after beating two nationally ranked teams, the Gamecocks are ranked in the top 25 in both polls this week.
Oh, no doubt about it. You're talking about one of the biggest wins, as you said, against a number 18th ranked Syracuse. And truly, and no doubt, it's one of his biggest wins. But you think about a string of wins with a number 25 win, beating the number 25 team in Michigan. And I was a little bit of concern about going into these two games because, these two teams are very disciplined on defense, and I thought they would give these Gamecocks a little bit of problem. But, hey, we got a good coach down there, and Frank is putting these guys in great situations. They're obviously doing some great scouting reports on how to beat these defenses that present a lot of different teams around the country problems. And Frank is going in with great game plans. These guys are actually going out and executing, and that's the key. When you got seniors like that and a young team, you got the Senderis and then the Wayne Notices and the PJs out there. They're controlling the team, and they're making it so much easier for these young guys.
So the Gamecocks beat Michigan last week at the Colonial Life Arena, and it was a 61-46 final. South Carolina jumped out to a 13-5 lead in that ball game, but Michigan would come back and take a 20-19 lead. And, at that point, Joe, I was wondering, how the Gamecocks would respond. They had started off so hot in front of the home crowd, but then Michigan kind of steadied their ship and took the lead themselves, and I wondered how the Gamecocks would handle that. But Sendarius Thornwell hit a three-pointer to put the Gamecocks back in front, and then senior guard Justin Mackey came off the bench and scored 5 straight points to put the Gamecocks ahead by 4. South Carolina led 33-27 at halftime and went on to win the ballgame 61-46. Defense is what did it, Joe, for the Gamecocks, and that was true not only in the Michigan win but also in the Syracuse win. I mean, the Gamecock defense was outstanding, holding Syracuse to just 50 points in a ballgame. That was 36 lower than their season average, and Michigan scored just 46. So, we're starting to see the identity of this Carolina basketball team under Frank Martin very quickly here in this new season, and they're winning with defense, Joe.
Oh, no doubt. Like when you said the Michigan game, that's what you want, especially being at home. You want those senior guys to step up, give it up to the crowd. They're very energetic. They were into the game against Michigan, and those guys responding. That's what you want to see out of your senior guys that has been through the trenches with this ball club. But defensively, this team is they play so hard. And, we questioned that. I was questioning the identity of this team a little bit, because of the players that we lost the last year. But this team has always, under any Frank Martin team, you're going to play some defense. If you want to play, you're going to have to get out there and you got to get in your man's face. You got to talk, you got to communicate, and you got to stop your man and guard your area. And that's what this team is doing. This team is making it so difficult for the opposing teams right now. They're taking a lot of these teams, which you're talking about the Michigan, the Syracuse, they're taking them out of their comfort zone, and they're making it the contesting every shot. They're making the dribble drives very difficult. You got guys, you're talking about Coaster. He's not that great of a shot blocker, but he's putting himself in position to take charge. They're protecting the rim as well as playing hard in those defense on the perimeter. And it all works together. All 5 of those guys, they got to communicate. And defense, they should be one of the top defensive teams in the country coming up soon, I think.
The Gamecocks held Michigan to 10 of 52 shooting. That's 19% from the field. And South Carolina got 21 points and 10 boards from Sendarius Thornwell. P.J. Dozier did a great job on the defensive end, holding Zach Irvin to 2 of 8 shooting. Irvin scored just 5 points for Michigan. So a complete Gamecock victory on Wednesday at the Colonial Life Arena over number 25 ranked Michigan. It was Michigan's first loss of the season. And then, Joe, the Gamecocks headed up to Brooklyn to take on Syracuse. And, we talked about it last week. Syracuse made the Final Four last year. This is the 41st year for head coach Jim Boeheim. And, this figured to be a tougher test, particularly playing in Brooklyn where we knew it would be a Syracuse crowd up there. And it was a good crowd at the Barclays Center on Saturday. And the Gamecocks got 2 threes to start the ball game. Joe, Thornwell hit a three from the left corner, and then Dozier hit a three from the top of the key, and Carolina jumped out 6-0 on the first two possessions against Syracuse, and Carolina never trailed against the Orange.
You saw, I wouldn't say a coming out part, but you saw a sophomore, P.J. Dozier, that came into this game, and I think he really put his mark out there. Frank Martin, those coaching staff over there, put P.J. in, situation. You always want to beat Syracuse zone by putting playmakers in that high post that can make decisions as far as shooting or dropping the pass or giving it to the big man inside. And that's what they did. You saw several times P.J. slide in that open spot, and he just made plays, and same with Sindarius. And several times also with Costa and Silva. They was in that high post, and that's the way you beat zone that Syracuse always been known to play. And Frank Martin put those guys in great situations to be able to make plays and be playmakers up there. And I say PJ, like I said, it wasn't a national televised game, but some of us were able to watch it via streaming online or whatever. But PJ and those guys really, really played well, and they're jumping out on people right now, and that's something that also gives this young team a lot of confidence down the road, jumping out on people. Then once you get out like that, you can play that tough defense and confidence start building up. It wasn't still a road game for them. So even though Syracuse had to come down a little bit, but that was still a road game for this young Gamecock team.
Yeah, Syracuse was ranked 18th in one poll, 16th in another. They were 4-0 coming into this game, and the Gamecocks beat them at their own game, Joe. The Gamecock defense held Syracuse to just 8 field goals in the first half. Syracuse shot 34% in the first half of play, and the Gamecocks led 37-26 at halftime. South Carolina got 21 points from Thornwell and Dozier. Those two combined for 21 in the first half, and the Gamecocks led by 11 at halftime. Carolina shot 50% in the first half, and then very surprising to me, Joe, at the end of the ball game, Carolina had a 30-8 advantage in points in the paint. And we talked last week about the Syracuse zone defense. They are known for that 2-3 zone, and Frank Martin came in with a game plan. The Gamecocks executed it, and they found a way to get points in the paint against that vaunted Syracuse 2-3 zone.
That's the only way you beat them. That defense is so tough. They want you to settle for the jump shot. They want you to settle for threes and get comfortable out there. That's exactly what you play in their hands that way. But Frank emphasized, get that ball inside, get that foot in the paint, and get some easy shots. That's the easiest shot in the game. Once you get in that paint, the three-pointers eventually start opening up. Your guys will be sucked in, and you're able to kick that out. And you saw several times, if PJ or Sindarius didn't shoot the ball inside the paint, they were kicking it out. And noticing, and several other guys were making big shots. And hey, I think this is a special team, Emerson. And I know it's early on, but these guys are really gelling together early on, and if they're top 20 team right now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that. And I saw a post from Coach Boeheim from Syracuse. He said this is a really, really good, tough team, and it's good to see that other coaches are acknowledging, other great coaches, Hall of Fame coach Jim Boeheim acknowledging how good this Gamecock team is going to be in that they played the other day.
The Gamecocks beat Syracuse 64-50. They got 16 points from Sindarius Thornwell and 16 from Mike Kotsar, and it was the first ever double-double for Gamecock sophomore P.J. Dozier, who had 10 boards to go along with 15 points against the Orange. And the Gamecocks had 12 steals in this win over Syracuse. And really, the biggest win of the Frank Martin era, Joe. We can talk about the national ranking, and the Gamecocks are 6-0, but Martin had a press conference on Monday of this week, and he looked back on the Syracuse game, and he said obviously he's very happy that the team is 6-0, but he's most pleased with the way that the team has grown, and they're taken to his system. It's taken him a while to get his players in place and to get some depth on that bench, but now that he's got it, the Gamecocks are getting results.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think the main thing. I know that going into a system, but I think that trip that they took this summer, I remember back when I was in Carolina, my first year, I was playing with Terry Doze, who's a great Gamecock, John Hudson, and those guys were saying they left that year, and also Brent Price transferred to Oklahoma. We had a summer trip that year, and we was able to go to Venezuela, we went to Colombia, we went to Argentina, I believe, Guatemala that summer, and that was the time that we was able to get to know each other a lot better. We grew closer as a team, and I think the trip that this team took this summer also gave them a chance to gel and get to know each other. You know, a lot of time when you're in school, you have your own various lives, you got your own things. Sometimes you don't see each other only in practice. So I think just them summer trips that these teams are able to take every 4 years really gives this team the opportunity to get to know each other, and you see the results on the court.
All right, Joe, the Gamecocks got contributions from a couple of other players that we didn't talk about last week. One of them is Hassani Gravett, who came in and gave the Gamecocks good minutes at point guard, and also Sadie Kaita, who had a block shot on a Syracuse dunk attempt that really gave the Gamecocks some juice in that win over the Orange.
Yes, I love those guys coming in. You know, for one, the game doesn't change much. Gravett has came in. He comes with a lot of confidence, and he takes a lot of pressure off PJ. He takes a lot of pressure off Sindarius for playing the point guard. He comes in, and he doesn't turn it over. The team still runs. He's aggressive. He can shoot the ball. He shoots with a lot of confidence, and that's a key thing. You know, Frank Martin loves those big guards and those athletic guards. And he comes in, and this team doesn't miss a beat. You know, we had several times in the past that guys that came in that couldn't shoot the ball that well, and other teams that did good scout reports against these Gamecocks when some of the starters went out gave us a problem because we couldn't shoot the perimeter ball. But now we got guys that's coming in not turning the ball over, which is Gravett, and he's being very productive, and that's a surprise for a guy so young. You can tell that he's been coached well and coming in with a lot of confidence and being trained so far in this Gamecock coaching staff.
Yeah, Gravett led the Gamecocks in assists in that win over Michigan. So it's Gamecock Central Radio here. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett. We invite you to download the Gamecock Central Radio app. We've got this free phone app that allows you to listen to our podcast on your cell phone. Anywhere you receive cell phone service, the app is free. It's on the App Store and on Google Play. To subscribe to our podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. Joe, 6-0 for the Gamecocks, and South Carolina ranked 20th in the AP poll this week, 23rd in the coaches poll. Sindarius Thornwell is the SEC Player of the Week, and the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a Thursday night game this week with Vermont. That'll be a 6:30 tip, and then on Sunday the Gamecocks get Florida International. That'll be a 2 o'clock start on Sunday, and both games will be on the SEC Network Plus.
That would be great. You got two teams that's coming in on paper, EP, that you would see that we should win, but this is where Frank earned his money. This is where the leadership comes in. Coming off the high from 2 great wins, now we're nationally ranked. And as a player, you're going to look at those things, oh, man, we could go in and just go in the corner and beat these teams. That doesn't happen these days. You see a lot of low-ranked mid-major schools that comes in and beat a lot of these schools. So that's what Frank – you'll see the difference of why Frank is such a good coach. He will have this team prepared, and that's why you got the seniors, Sindarius and Dwayne Knowles and Justin Mackey. Those guys going to have this team ready because they done been there. They done been in that situation. They've been on the opposite side of that. So I would like to see this team come out with the same energy, which is hard sometimes. It's hard, but that's why you have those scenes. We want those guys to come out and lead this young team to, to play and match the energy that they came out against Michigan and they came out against Syracuse. It'll be tough, but this Vermont team is a team that we should win, and I expect us to come out and do well.
All right, no game next week. Following the Florida International game, the team will be off for exams, and then about an 8-day layoff for the Gamecocks before they return to action against Seton Hall at Madison Square Garden on December the 12th. Then the Gamecocks play at South Florida on December 17th. Clemson comes to the Colonial Life Arena on December 21st. And then a couple of other non-conference games, Lander at the CLA on December the 27th and at Memphis on December the 30th, and that'll close out the non-conference portion of the schedule. The Gamecocks get into SEC play starting at Georgia on January the 4th, and then the first SEC home game will be January the 7th against a very good Texas A&M team. So, Joe, outstanding start for the Gamecocks this year. Carolina coming off the biggest win of the Frank Martin era, and Vermont is up next. So, a national ranking, SEC Player of the Week, all things going real good for Gamecock basketball right now.
Yeah, it's exciting to be out right now. A lot of people know that I played at the University of South Carolina. The excitement is there. A lot of people are getting excited about this basketball team, and hey, you better jump on board right now because I think this is a special team and it should be a special season for this Gamecock team this year.
I was talking with somebody a fan that had met Coach Martin recently, and Coach Martin was talking about the fact that the kids on the team really want to play in front of big crowds. They really are hoping that the fans will come out. And I was talking to this friend of mine who had met Frank Martin. I said, hey, if they keep winning, they're going to get crowds, So I know that Gamecock Nation needs to turn out to support this men's basketball team. Frank Martin really working hard to try to give Gamecock fans a team that they can be proud of. Carolina had a great year last year but did not get into the NCAA tournament. And I think that's a chip that the Gamecocks are carrying with them this year. Joe, what do you think?
Oh, no doubt. I believe they have that in the back of their mind. Even though this is a new year, you don't want to just focus exactly on that and making it, but let that be a motivation point for you this year and go out there and, Frank always preached about each year about going out in the community and getting some of the young people or just anybody involved in Gamecock basketball. I give them a lot of credit. A lot of coaches that have came through hadn't done that. So, for that last week game against me, I thought we had a decent crowd, especially by the students not being in. So I thought it was pretty good. And I expect, I've been here all my life and I've seen when we winning, they will be there, 19,000 strong. So I don't doubt that this team will be good. We have a good product. Fans love to see good product on the floor, and we have no excuses right now. So come on out and support this team.
Yeah, that's right. The Gamecocks proved last week that they are legit, beating 2 nationally ranked teams in South Carolina up into the polls this week as well. So an exciting time for Gamecock men's basketball. Joe, we appreciate your time today.
No problem, Emerson. You have a good day, man.
All right, we'll continue to talk Gamecock basketball here on Gamecock Central Radio. Joe Rhett will be with us all season long, so we're looking forward to talking some hoops with him, and we appreciate you joining us. For Joe Rhett, I'm Emerson Phillips. Thanks for joining us on Gamecock Central Radio.